Make a motion to approve. Oh,
Yeah,
I
I got
can,
a motion from Judy and a second from Ryan, maybe.
works for me.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approval of the November 4th minutes as presented, aye.
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 Motion carries. Item 5, correspondence and board reports. Peter or Rodney, you want to run through those for us?
Don't currently have any correspondence or reports for this evening. The only thing in the minutes is the board expiration date matrix that you have, just to make sure you watch that for your own terms.
Anything coming from the planning commission, Ryan, that we need to be aware of?
I'm looking at my notes right now. I'm only going to go back a couple of months because it's been a while since
Yeah.
we've met. I will say that we've had in the January and February meetings, we've had some fairly lengthy conversations about a new site for the county jail. I do think that I've heard in the news most recently that maybe they've, and Rodney or Peter, maybe you can confirm, I think they may have walked away from it now. I'm not sure if that's the case or not.
Yesterday evening, the County Board of Commissioners voted to terminate their purchase agreement for the property that they were working on. Yes.
I think the biggest sticking point to that, we'd actually looked at some preliminary site plan reviews and had a lot of conversation about it. I think the biggest sticking point was access to water and sewer. It was looking like it might have to come from the tribe rather than Union Township, and that presents some obvious concerns for folks having utilities for a municipal building that come out from outside of the actual municipality. We've had some conversations about moving our master plan forward, and some of those things that we're working on or talking about with the master plan involve doing some updates to the Sidewalk and Pathways Committee and doing some reviews. We did have a joint meeting where we met with some folks on the Pathways Committee as well, and they've gone back and they have some things that they're going to work on a little bit with the policy and try to bring forward to the township as well. We have approved a number of site plan reviews in the past couple of months for some different things, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. Sam's Club is adding a filling station. We've approved that, and they're moving forward with that. We did the Den on Broomfield is, I'm looking to see if that was preliminary or if that was a final site plan. I don't know. Peter or Rodney, do you guys have a sense of, was that preliminary or final?
That was preliminary.
There was a preliminary. Okay, sorry about that. We also had, we have done a final site plan review for Dunkin' Donuts, which was last month, and we did the final site plan. We did the initial site plan review for January, and Sam's Club, the filling station, is the final review was in February, and we also did a final site plan review and approval for the. I didn't write down what they call it. It's their semi-permanent Big B Coffee's semi-permanent site out on Pickard at the old Mid-Michigan building. It's like cubed. Is it their cubed?
B cubed, they call it.
B cubed.
Modular building.
Modular building that is considered kind of semi-permanent, but we did a final review for that as well. So it's been fairly busy in the last few months with site plan reviews. I guess if there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sounds like you guys have been very busy. Appreciate the update.
Sure.
No questions for Ryan or Peter or Rodney. I will move to item 6, which is approval of tonight's agenda. Anybody have any questions or concerns about tonight's agenda? If not, I would accept the motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Liz. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Judy. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item 7, public comment. It is 7:09 p.m. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes regarding any issues not currently on tonight's agenda. Do we have anyone from the public who'd like to speak?
For anyone that would like to speak, down at the bottom of the screen, there's a raise hand button, and all you need to do is click on that. And as soon as you do, I'll see the flag, and we'll unmute you to be able to speak.
I'm not seeing any takers on that.
Actually, I apologize because we do have two phone folks calling in on the phone. I probably should mention that one too. For folks calling on the phone, you can hit *9, the star key and the number 9 key, and it will raise your hand for you.
Rodney, do we have anybody?
Nope.
Seeing
don't see
none, I will close public comment at 7:10. Moving on to item 8, new business. First item A is election of officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, and vice secretary. We're all, I think, fairly familiar with the procedure here, the duties and responsibilities of those different elected officer positions. Is there anyone who is just dying to have one of those positions? Feel free to raise your hand. We would love to mix it up if anybody's interested. Not everybody all at once.
I'll nominate you to stay chair, Andy.
Okay. If that is the opinion of the group, that's fine. I'd like to discuss that a little bit and see if anybody's interested. If there are no takers on specific positions, I would ask you, Judy, maybe you would make a motion to maintain the officer positions as they're currently held. If there's any opinion on that matter.
We should do each position separately.
Okay.
For the record.
Okay.
Well, because I didn't hear until I saw these minutes that Taylor Stahl isn't on this anymore, and he was secretary, correct?
True.
And so I would take that secretary spot if no one else wants it. I would think I was vice secretary before. But other than that, I guess we need to start out with chair, and I would nominate Andy.
Okay, Judy's got a nomination for me to maintain the position as chair. Is there a second?
I second.
Second, I'm gonna give that one to Liz first. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just me or my wife? No? Okay. Moving on, I guess we'll move on to vice chair. I would make a motion, or I would accept a motion if Liz is willing to maintain her position as vice chair. Would someone agree to make that motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Ryan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Judy. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion for a secretary position. As Judy has mentioned, she's willing to take that seat. I would take a motion for Judy as secretary.
So moved.
Ryan, do I have support?
Second.
I missed that one.
Said I second that.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Okay, any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That leaves us with vice secretary and a vacant seat, right? Because Ryan cannot hold an officer position as a planning commission rep. Is that accurate?
I would recommend that. And you could leave the vice secretary seat open for the moment until we have our additional board member.
Excellent. Okay, so for the record, Jennifer will keep the vice secretary position open. And that would conclude our election of officers. I thank everyone for their participation. If there are any other housekeeping items related to that, Rodney, let me know now. Otherwise, I'll move to item B.
You are all set.
Okay, item B. It's a variance request 20-02 for SOS Holding Company LLC. Rodney or Peter, will you give us a rundown on that item?
Actually, I'd like to ask Peter to kind of give us a little history on this in terms of how we got to where we are.
So for those that were on the ZBA at the time, this isn't the first time that we've had a variance with this project. We did have a variance application that was approved, and that was for a setback requirement for this medical office when it comes to the parking that out by Pickard Road. I believe it was a 5-foot setback issue variance that was requested and approved or granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so because of the issue of this this variance and the size of the lot, when it came time to put a freestanding sign out on the property, it created a bit of a problem in being able to meet the setback requirement for off of the right of way when it comes to putting a sign in. If they were to meet the requirement, they basically would be forced to have to put the sign in the parking lot. And so they are asking for a 9-foot setback request from the minimum of 10 feet so that they can put the sign in a reasonable location that way they don't have to put it in the parking lot. They do have wall signs up on the building that were approved, and no variances were needed for those. As far as the freestanding sign, there's nothing wrong with the proposed height or the square footage. That all meets zoning requirements. It's just the issue of location. And so that's what this variance is about. There are a number of signs, everything checks out with all the signs proposed and those that have been approved. It's just the location of this freestanding sign.
Thank you, Peter. At this time, we'd actually be officially opening the public hearing, right? So for record, we're at 7:17. Any more comments from staff?
I think the only thing I would add, you have our report dated February the 19th. We did in the report, we included on page 2 the criteria for variances that are from the new zoning ordinance. And we did have some comments, some observations along the lines of what Peter's already mentioned related to the history of the site. And then on the third page of our report, we just noted, kind of summarized some of the key findings that we found from staff perspective applied to the project. We do have with us Chris Christensen, the sign contractor, and we also have Joe Yakison with us, who is the owner of the property. And then in addition to that, it looks like we have a couple of members of the public here.
At this time, would either the applicant or a representative for the applicant like to address the Board of Appeals?
I've asked the sign contractor on the mute. Looks like he has. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
At this point, I think we have a position for the sign settled. The sign is 7 feet tall by 8 feet wide, and I think it'll fit in that front location much better than the side location. You also have to worry about the Second Street as a side street. So that pushed us to make the decision of having the sign out in front of the property. Any questions on the sign?
Any questions for the applicant? No, at this time, I would like to hear comments from any of the board members as it relates to this particular issue in terms of deliberation.
We need to open up for the public before you do that,
I'm
for
sorry.
public comment.
So I have that set at 7:17. We'll, I guess, maybe make an adjustment to that, Jennifer, to 7:20, opening it for public comment.
So the same process applies. Down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a raise hand button. And if you'd like to speak or have any comments to make for this public hearing, just click on that raise hand button, and then I will unmute you. For those that are calling in by phone, just hit the star key and then the number 9 key, and that will raise your hand electronically.
Any takers?
No takers so far.
Give everybody just another second here in case we've got some lag time here. Looks like we don't have any public input here regarding this item. So now I would like to open up deliberation amongst the board members, see if there's any thoughts or considerations internally here. Any questions we have for staff should be directed at this time.
I guess I looked everything over, and I actually went and drove by the business on Pickard, and I understand what the situation is, I think, pretty well, with having to have that extra parking place that took the spot for the sign. So having to locate it where they are locating it, I guess I don't have any objections to making the variance, to approving the variance.
Mr. Buckley has his hand raised.
He's muted.
I muted myself. I would echo those sentiments as well. Based on the fact that the Board of Appeals has essentially created the situation at hand. We've got a very minor variance request that's being asked of to be able to accommodate conditions that were kind of created in a decision that was made by the Board of Appeals previously in 2019. I have no particular concerns with moving forward with this to keep the sign out of the parking lot and allow the signage to go up in an appropriate location. I'm sorry, just to add to that, do we have motions on this? I didn't see a prepared motion, Rodney, but maybe.
We do, actually. The last page of the packet is
Okay,
a set of prepared motions. These are this is something new for the Board of Appeals. The Planning Commission has been working with it for some time. You should have a set of draft motions: a motion to approve, a motion to deny, and a motion to postpone action. And what we did, using these formats will help, first of all, with our minutes to make sure everything gets recorded. What we did for each motion is we included, for example, on the motion to approve, we included findings that supported a motion to approve. For the motion to deny, we included some findings that support that. It is a framework for you to use as you choose. You can also ignore it and come up with a different motion if you choose. This is really intended both to be helpful to you, but also helpful for Jennifer as she's putting the minutes together. So, did everybody receive that set of draft motions at
Yeah.
the back? Okay.
Is there any other discussion or deliberation amongst the board? If not, I would like to suggest that we entertain a motion here. So I would suggest you look to page 19 and someone could go ahead and make a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the PVAR 20-02 application from SOS Holding Company LLC for a variance of 9 feet from the minimum 10-foot setback from the roads right of way required by section 11.11.c of the zoning ordinance for a freestanding sign in a business district at 5316 East Pickard Road. After review of the variance criteria in section 14.4.b.4 of the zoning ordinance and finding that 1, the Board of Appeals determined as part of the April 3rd, 2019 parking setback variance approval that special conditions and circumstances exist on this lot that are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and that are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. 2, approval of the zoning requested. Let me start that over. 2, approval of the requested variance to allow construction of the sign at the proposed location will not create an unsafe condition or conflict with existing utilities. 3, a lesser variance would eliminate one of the minimum required parking spaces for the development. And 4, the previous variance approval action by the Zoning Board of Appeals directly contributed to creating the conflict with the township sign regulations that resulted in denial of the applicant's freestanding sign permit application and their subsequent request for a sign setback variance.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ryan and Judy. We have a motion and we have support by Judy. Any further discussion? See no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion as presented by Ryan and seconded by Judy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Jennifer, do you need any feedback on that or you got all that? Good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we need, typically I would be reading the information about this being approved and valid at a certain date, 30 days. Peter, is that not applicable here?
No, that's something we did with the old ordinance.
Right. Yeah, the new ordinance does not have that provision. The variance is, according to based on state law, the variance is approved at the moment that you adopt it. We'll confirm that with a letter to the applicant that Andy will ask you to sign, just that will list the motion. And so I'll get with you to make arrangements to have that done.
Perfect. Okay. I think that concludes our public hearing at 7:28 for this particular item. And that takes us to item 9 on our agenda, which is other business. Looks like we don't have anything particular for other business. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rodney.
We do not.
Thank you. At this time, I would open up extended public comment at 7:28 p.m.
We have
This is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue.
We do have one member of the public that has asked to speak, so I've asked them to mute. That's Joe.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Hi, it's actually Barb Yakison. Did you say that we have to wait 30 days before we can put the sign up?
No, that was the question was about our old ordinance, which had
okay.
a policy for that. Peter will connect with you regarding what needs to be done from this point forward. So you can expect to to hear from him tomorrow on that, as to what needs to be done to
Okay.
get the sign done.
Okay, all right. We're actually out of town, so I can be reached on my cell phone. So. All right,
Okay.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion, Barb.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Any other public comment?
No other hands raised.
At this time, we'll close public comment at 7:29. Move on to final board comment, number 11 on the agenda. Anyone have any burning thoughts they want to share with the group?
I guess I'm just wondering how we're filling Taylor's spot and how that's worked.
It's unfortunately out of our hands, really, other than you or I or anyone else making recommendations to Brian as
Okay.
supervisor. We really are just trying to drum up names and ideas, and then it's up to the supervisor to appoint that position.
Okay.
There is an application form on the township website. And so if you know of somebody that might be a good fit or that you'd like to work with, the Board of Appeals, you can encourage them to fill that application out. They can note which board or commission or commissions or boards that they'd like to be a part of. And that can be turned in any time at the Township Hall.
Okay.
Rodney, do you have any comments for us on tonight's agenda?
Thank you for your efforts this evening, and I do not have anything else for you tonight.
Well, thank you everyone for logging in tonight, and we will officially adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:31.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see everyone.
You.
Yes,
See ya.
indeed. Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Good night.
night.